But broken news. Coming up, big improvements to Arena, a father spends time with his son, and Marvel's amazing Schrödinger man? It's 2026, and with a year's worth of hindsight, we're looking back on Magic the Gathering headlines from March to May 2025. Link to all the articles in the description below, and obviously this is only one man's perspective, so feel free to give your thoughts in the comments as we go. Up first, the 2nd of March, MTGRocks.com. MTG is officially removing Universes Beyond card stamps, an article that discusses how the little triangle Universes Beyond symbol and the slightly more metallic frame were being replaced by both Magic's traditional in-universe oval symbol and the slightly less metallic, more fantasy-friendly frame. This change upset a lot of people, myself included quite frankly, because it follows the same pattern silver-bordered cards did when they transitioned to black-bordered cards with a much harder to identify at first glance acorn symbol. WotC's statements at the time implied that change was made to encourage more sales, because people didn't want to buy silver-bordered cards. So I assume the same reasoning was behind the change for the Universes Beyond cards too. Changes like this wouldn't be such an issue for me if it weren't for the fact that for years, when players have complained about pricing, product fatigue, burnout and the constant spoilers or any other number of issues, WotC officials have used the defense of players don't need to buy every product and they should only engage with the parts of Magic that they want to. In essence, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And yet, WotC's actions say otherwise. Silver-bordered cards became black-bordered and released in sets with mixed legality. Universes Beyond products went from being secret layers to commander decks to full sets legal in every format. Products made for specific formats disappeared in favour of 7 Omni sets a year. And it seems that the intention of removing the Universes Beyond symbol and frame is to make the cards harder to identify at first glance. There are cries from many in the player base for a format that bans all Universes Beyond cards. It seems Pauper players are having that discussion most recently, but a ban like that becomes harder to do if you can't tell the cards apart. So forgive me, but it does appear WotC are making it as difficult as possible for people to only engage with the parts of Magic they want to, meaning it's not really possible to follow their advice even if you tried. Decisions like removing the symbol are yet another step towards making the game an all-or-nothing affair, and I think that creates needless friction. With actions like this, I think they're relying on FOMO to pressure us into buying every product. No thanks. The 11th of March, GamingTrends.com. Magic the Gathering Innistrad Remastered review, a bloody good time. And I fully agree, I think the set sort of flopped, but I put that down to several outside factors. For some reason chase cards weren't included in the set proper, there wasn't much advertising or fanfare for the release, and the release window was at a weird time. And if memory serves, spoilers for other sets were coming out both immediately before and after its release too. But I liked Innistrad Remastered, maybe not the price of it, but I hope the WotC do more sets like this in the future. I like when they include cards with thematically appropriate art from other products like Commander decks in these remasters. I'm a lore nerd, so I think that's cool, and I'd rather see a few speciality products like this a year than yet another standard legal set. The 20th of March, Wizards.com. A statement on Dragonback Assault from Tarkir Dragonstorm. It reads, "We are aware of an issue in which all German language versions of the card Dragonback Assault from Tarkir Dragonstorm are missing with flying from the rules text concerning the created tokens." That's so weird. You'd think a billion-dollar company like Hasbro would do a better job with global distribution when it comes to products from their most profitable wing, WotC. Must be a one-off. The 21st of March, Wizards.com. Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release events delayed in Malaysia and Indonesia. It reads, "Due to a delay in the arrival of products, Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-releases in Malaysia and Indonesia will be postponed by 1 week. Guess I spoke too soon." The 21st of March, PCGamer.com. Wizards of the Coast throws a bone to players who miss vanilla Magic the Gathering with a dragon-themed set called Tarkir Dragonstorm. That's quite an odd framing for a headline. Tarkir Dragonstorm was the only set to release in this 3-month window. But the wording of this almost implies that players at the time were being drowned in non-universe products. Very strange. The 28th of March, menshealth.com. I went to a Magic the Gathering convention with my son, I emerged a different dad. I don't really have much to say on this one. It's just the story of how a man who doesn't like Magic went to a con, spoke to Mark Rosewater, and then hung out with his kid. His own kid, I mean. I don't know that Magic players are the target demographic for this read, so much as other dads who might think attending a convention with their kid is lame or something. But either way, I felt it was interesting enough to include here, and I'm glad that they both had a good time. The 1st of April, Wizards.com, announcing Secret Lair X Marvel's Deadpool April Fool's Day. And I mean, to be fair, As April Fool stunts go, this is alright. I think I'd have felt differently had WotC been drowning us in Marvel or other Universes Beyond spoilers at the time, but luckily the only set to release around then was Tarkir, which I assume means that set got all of the attention. The 10th of April, Gizmodo.com. The Magic the Gathering movie may be close to finding a director. That director apparently being Matt Johnson from Blackberry and Nirvana the band, the show, the movie fame. 1 year on, I've not heard much more about this, but I hope the film is still in the works because I'd love to see it. The 11th of April, Tarkir Dragonstorm releases. As mentioned, it's the only major release for this 3-month window, which feels shocking given WotC's rate of release this year. The restraint they showed around that time to not drown us in spoilers for other products and just let Tarkir shine is impressive. Tarkir itself was another example of a pretty decent set marred by quality control issues, high prices, and a lack of focus on the plane itself in favour of a story ultimately revolving once again around Jace, which to me made the set feel narratively rushed, which was probably a result of WotC trying to do too much in a single release, instead of what the narrative felt like it needed by spreading Tarkir out over a 2-set block. But I thought it was a decent set regardless. I just wish that WotC could iron out those wrinkles. I like Tarkir as a step in the right direction, not a new standard of quality. The 21st of April, Wizards.com. Through the Omenpaths and Digital Universes Beyond updates, in which Blake Rasmussen introduces the idea that no longer will digital arena cards match their paper counterparts, but will in fact require alternative versions with both distinct names and art. In essence, for every physically printed card in a set, a completely separate and different yet mechanically identical version will be added to Arena under the umbrella term of Through the Omenpaths. The paper versions won't be on Arena, the Arena versions won't come to paper. As Blake explains, this will only happen for the Universes Beyond sets that WotC either couldn't be bothered to or weren't competent enough to acquire the digital rights to. Like Spider-Man apparently. Much has been said about this embarrassing compromise, how having 2 different named copies of the same card is confusing, especially for newer players looking to transition from digital to paper or vice versa, how quite frankly shit it is as a player to be told that you potentially won't have access to your favourite version of a card in your preferred format, seemingly by design for some reason, or how revealing it is that WotC would be willing to give up control and ownership of their own game or how their cards are distributed to an external IP holder. What I personally don't understand is why they refuse to print the digitally exclusive cards in paper, even though they presumably legally could. Doing so wouldn't solve the issue for the digital-only players, of course, but solving half an issue is better than solving none of it at all. Whatever, I guess WotC just suck and I should feel like an idiot for wanting to collect my favourite versions of a card. I looked for positive news articles for this video, I really did. The 24th of April, StarCityGames.com. MTG Final Fantasy already the best-selling set of all time. And I'm only going to touch on this one real quick, but it does fascinate me. As you may or may not be aware, the Final Fantasy set was the best-selling Magic set of all time apparently. But importantly, this article was written before the set even came out. If memory serves, before even pre-orders were available. But according to this article, Hasbro CEO Chris Cox said on the first quarter earnings call that it will be the best-selling set of all time on day one, and then corrected himself by saying it already is, seemingly implying that WotC don't consider a customer purchasing a set as a sale, but instead consider a sale as either a store or distributor buying a set for resale, which could explain the quantum state that the Spider-Man set found itself in, of being both touted by WotC as one of the best-selling sets of all time, whilst also going widely reported as a massive flop, as its stock rots on shelves for months, and still struggled to sell even after most places gave it massive discounts. That's potentially how this apparent top 10 best-selling set was so undesirable that even thieves didn't want it. Allegedly. So is this the method that WotC used to determine which sets sell well? I guess from WotC's perspective it doesn't matter if the player wants a product as long as they make money from it regardless. I don't know, maybe it's me, but this sort of thing makes me think that the higher-ups at Magic are maybe a little out of touch with reality. The 25th of April, Wargamer.com. Economic hardship won't stop MTG fans buying packs, says Hasbro CEO. I'm just going to read the subtitle for this one because I think it says it all. According to Hasbro CEO Chris Cox, Magic the Gathering collectors' spending isn't really tied to the fate of the stock market. Does he really think that luxury goods like Magic won't be affected by widespread poverty? I don't know, maybe it's me, but this sort of thing makes me think the higher-ups at Magic are maybe a little out of touch with reality. The 30th of April, Wargamer.com. Fans won't quit MTG because of Universes Beyond, says head designer. I mean, again, Mark Rosewater has defended Magic the Gathering's Universes Beyond strategy from the suggestion that players will quit if the IP keeps changing. And really? I already know people that have quit because of it. Sound off in the comments if you know anyone who quit because of it. Sound off if you quit yourself. Everyone has a limit. Does he really think people won't quit if it gets bad enough? I don't know. Maybe it's me. But this sort of thing makes me think the higher-ups at Magic are maybe a little out of touch with reality. The 5th of May, Wizards.com. MTG Arena reprint and card style improvements, in which WotC makes some genuinely positive changes to collecting digital cards. The biggest change comes in the form of how alternate art versions are treated. Now, if a player has a playset of 4 cards, they can choose to depict all of them in a deck using the same art style, even if they only ever unlocked 1 card in that style. The other change is to how alternate art cards are crafted using wild cards, as now only the wild card of the lowest rarity is required to craft any version of the card, so long as at least one version of it was released at that rarity, which is great. The thing I find most interesting is this quote here though. MTG Arena has always had a complicated relationship with reprints. I don't mean that figuratively. Tracking of players' inventories, reprints across multiple sets and card styles creates an interconnected web of systems that were built for a very different world than the one that we live in now. What does that mean? Arena released in 2019. We'd already had alternative art styles of cards for years by that point. What world was Arena built for if not this one? Very odd. The 13th of May, ICV2.com. Tariffs can't slow down Magic the Gathering or Pokemon TCG, Weiss-Schwarz TCG reemerges. And okay, maybe I'm wrong and Magic can survive economic hardship. Maybe one day in the wasteland we'll be trading the Ash Lords for oxygen tanks and water deratifiers using our scavenged stockpile of rainbow foil Hatsune Miku secret layers or whatever. Time will tell. The 23rd of May, comicbook.com. Netflix Magic the Gathering series finally gets an update, and it sounds great. And yeah, I mention this story when I can because I think branching out into other media could do wonders for the game and the player base. The example is what Arcane did for League of Legends. But this update essentially boils down to the show will be animated, which we already knew, and that the show is still happening, so sure, good, okay, cool. And that's the broken news. Let me know your thoughts on everything we covered here today in the comments below. And if you'd like to support me to bring you more videos like this, please come check out my Patreon, linked in the description below too. And I know at the mention of my Patreon the majority of people will have clicked off the video, so let me take this opportunity to... Oh wait, hang on. I must have missed one. The 15th of March, Wargamer.com. MTG head designer says in-universe sets aren't going anywhere. That's also weird. Tarkir Dragonstorm was just about to drop and it was the only set for months. So all of the focus would be on that, right? What was happening in the month of March? Why would Mark Rosewater feel the need to reassure players that in-universe sets are still a thing? What could have possibly been happening in the news that would require him to address the players like this? What was happening around the time to make players worried that in-universe sets may no longer be the main attraction? I mean, it's not like in-universe sets would be drowned out, right? It's just so weird. Oh, I see. Thank you very much for watching this video, and thank you to everyone that supports me, like 27 Publications, Eggboy the Particle that permeates all existence, Blank Space, Wanpako Jozu, Miss Murder, a random Patreon, and the rest of my patrons whose names are on screen now. I'd also like to thank the sponsor for this video, me and my Patreon page, where you can get your name credited on screen too. Check it out in the link in the description below. Hit the like button, leave a comment, install an ad block, most importantly subscribe and share this video with a friend. Hit the notification bell and do all those things the algorithm loves. If you agree or disagree with any of my points, or you want to see me do a video on another subject, let me know and I'll see you next time.